Hello EDUC 303 and 381 students. This video is going to guide you through some updates that we're going to do on your ePortfolio. Since we didn't meet face-to-face this week, I do still want you to work on these updates like we would have in class, but you can take the week to fix your updates, fix your website, and submit it by Sunday. You'll see that in week 8 of our Canvas modules, there is an ePortfolio update assignment. And underneath that, I included a copy of the ePortfolio directions that we're going to be following in order to add new pages and add some documents to our ePortfolios. So if you are following the ePortfolio directions, you'll see that we're actually all the way down to part 3 of those directions where you can look through adding new pages. If you look back on week 8, the ePortfolio update, you'll see the pages that we're going to add for today, which are placement, lessons and reflections, evaluations, and observation reports. So what we're going to do is just add some placeholders for each of these items so that as you progress through the semester, you can easily go back to your ePortfolios and add documents as you finalize them. Once you do finish your updates for this week, just go ahead and submit the assignment by adding the link to your website so that I can view your updates. And your 5 points for this assignment are going to go towards our participation since we didn't meet face-to-face. Okay, so in Google, just make sure that you're logged in underneath the account that you used to create your original website. You can navigate to sites.google.com to quickly get to your menu of websites and find that website that we started building on that first day of class. If you remember, we already worked on our home page where we added some pictures, added some narratives. You may or may not have added some background images, but we'll look at adding background images, adding pictures, adding narratives to other pages that we're going to be adding. So far, all we have is a home page. So to add additional pages, we're going to use the Pages menu and click on the plus sign to add some pages. The ones we want to add are placement, lessons and reflections, evaluations, and then finally observation reports. This is the excuse me, the bare minimum of the pages that you need to add to your website, but feel free to add more if you think of some other sections that you might want to have on this professional representation of your field experience. Since I've added all of my pages, I can also see that they showed up at the top. On this menu bar, we have a link for each of the pages that we added. We can navigate back to the home screen and navigate to each of those new pages that we added. Since I'm done adding all of my pages, then we're going to go back to the Insert menu to start inserting perhaps text box, images, and we'll also look at how to upload documents from the Google Drive. But let's start just with some text boxes so that we have placeholders for each of the items that we need. Under the Placement tab, we want to have a description of the school. So let's say you are placed at Lynn Middle School for your placement. Maybe that's the title that you give this little section. And then you're going to add a description of the school and the classroom in which you were placed. I'll let you work on that description a little bit later, but for now, we're just going to add these as placeholders. The next little section that we want to add is our copy of our blue card. So maybe we call this section LCPS background check. or you could call it blue card. You can come up with any titles that you want. The next section we're going to add is copy of placement letter. We'll also add a place for pre-field experience self-reflection, which is really just what you did in your self-reflection from the first discussion board that we worked on, where you talked about your preparedness for going into field experience, your hopes, your anticipations, all that kind of stuff. So feel free to copy and paste that directly from that discussion board. At the very end of the semester, you will also upload your time log and checklist. So having a placeholder now for that will be a good idea. Once you have all of your placeholders, what you've done is created different sections for each of these. So to make them stand apart from one another, remember that you can change the section background by clicking on this little artist palette. You can either just change the emphasis of the background, or you can select an image from the offerings that Google has, or of course upload your own. So maybe we'll go with this tile for the background check. Perhaps we'll go with one of these herringbone designs for the placement letter. Maybe we'll go with one of the polka dot ones for this self-reflection. And then for the last one, let's see. Maybe one of these kaleidoscope looking ones looks pretty interesting. So the reason we want to change the background for each of these sections is so that they do stand apart from each other. We're going to be uploading different items like images or even files, and we want to make sure that the viewer of the website can tell that some files go together under the same background, whereas some other files are separated from each other in different sections because we see that difference in background. So work on that for each of your tabs. Under Lessons and Reflections, we're going to have a placeholder for our mini lessons. And our full lessons. Under evaluations, we're going to have a placeholder for our midterm, our final, our cooperating teacher lesson evaluation, and also our university supervisor lesson evaluation. And then finally on observation reports, we're going to have two sections. The first observation report we worked on was observing the classroom environment. We skipped field experience report number 2, but field experience report number 3 that you're going to work on in a few weeks is all related to evaluating your student learning in the classroom based on a lesson that you give. So maybe we call this one student learning or student outcomes. You can come up with a good title for whatever that's going to be. So on each of your pages, go through, create your sections, and make the backgrounds stand apart from one another so that we can tell that mini lesson number 1 is supposed to be separate from mini lesson number 2. Or even on evaluations, changing the background really allows the midterm to stand apart from the final. So changing the background on all of these will be important for a well-designed website. I'm going to go ahead and pause here. So that you can work on adding each of your sections to each of your new tabs that you created. And I'm going to upload a second video for you to look and see how to upload files from the Google Drive. But for now, just spend some time on each of your tabs, making sure that you have a well-designed website that really shows the difference from section to section to section by changing those backgrounds. Also, make sure that you look back at the directions for the ePortfolio update to make sure that you have created yourself a placeholder for all of the reports that we're going to be including. Thank you for your patience with having to cancel our face-to-face class this week, but I think you guys will still be able to get a lot done during the week through our online mode of learning. See you soon.